Tonight, our first speaker is Jim. Help me welcome Jim to the stage.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm alcoholic. I forgot my watch, so I got to time myself. Hey, I got sober at the Valley Alamo Club in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it's hard for me to relate to. I was 37 when I got sober, but young people then were, I don't know, my oldest son was 16 then, and so I'm in this meeting with this kid, you know, and sorry to call him a kid, but of course I had that ego going on, so he's like 16, you know. Is there anybody in here that's 16? Or close around there? Anyway, he was a chronic alcoholic when he was 9. And he got that way from drinking cocktails off his parents, what was left over from the parties, see. So he got sober when he was 12, and he had 4 years sobriety, and he was a really cool kid. So one time I looked at him, I thought, well, what could he have to tell me, you know? And of course, I was new, I was 37, but with this ego, you know, So one time, this old guy was leaning on him and said, hell, kid, I spilled more alcohol than you ever drank. And the kid said, well, he said, you know, if you hadn't have spilled so much, maybe you'd have gotten here sooner. So anyway, they told me a story when I was new, and it's these two guys talking, and this is to lighten you up. If you're new, I consider new less than a year, there's always some shame with alcoholism, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to be an alcoholic. So they told me this story of these two guys, and they're talking, and one of them said, you know, my brother drank himself to death. And the other guy said, God, man, did he try to go to AA? And the first guy said, no, he wasn't that bad. Anyway, that's a joke. Nobody wants to go to AA. Anyway, the last 3.5 years of my drinking, I was drinking 24/7. If I was awake, I was drinking. And there wasn't that much drugs by then in my life. So I had given up the drugs because I had no control over them. I had some control over drinking, but when I drink, at the end there, I lost control over that too. And I lost everything, and I turned myself into AA, and I've been here ever since. So I'm totally grateful for that. And I found a higher power here. I didn't like the word God, and these old guys taught me about a higher power. And one guy told me to stay close to the old HP. That's what they called it, the old guys. And he'll take care of you. And I thought that sounded kind of corny, but I learned to do that. And years later, I used to give out cards. My business card on the back, I put on, stay close to the old HP and he'll take care of you. And years later, a guy came into I had an RV lot, and he came in there and he had this old crumpled up card, and he said, look, Jim, I didn't even know who it was. And he said, you gave this to me 17 years ago. And I was like, oh, God. So, you know, just simple, corny little stuff like that. The corny stuff will keep you sober. The big shot stuff, I don't know. If you know everything, you can't learn anything. To me, this whole thing's about surrender. It's about God, and it's about surrender. If you don't like that, tough, because that's what it's about. The purpose of Alcoholics Anonymous is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will help you solve your problem. That's what's right out of the big book. So the problem is alcohol, but you have to find a higher power to help you. If you'd have been able to quit drinking on your own and quit drugs on your own, you wouldn't need a higher power. But guess what? There's not anybody I've ever known, and I've been doing this a while, that ever stopped on their own, at least permanently. We don't get to hear from the people who leave and act like they're going to, unless you read about them in the paper. But I had a young man sweating from his upper lip in a meeting up on the hill over the Catholic Church years ago, and I tried to grab him after the meeting, and he was tapping his foot and sweating from his top lip, and he didn't want anything to do with anybody. He was in treatment, of course. So he left that in this brand new Mustang convertible, and he drove down Willow Creek north. He was going about 85, and he had a log cabin. And he scared the man that lived there so bad, the man went and it almost killed him. But he was never the same after that. He was almost mentally ill after that. And of course, they killed the kid. So we don't get to know what he could have done if he would have stayed sober. Anyway, I love AA, and I fell in love with my own wife. She was my third wife when I got sober, and she was on the way out too. So AA will trick you into some things that you didn't think. I fell in love with my own wife, and then I was with her for years and years after that, like 31 years after that. So guess what? Surprise! I haven't spoken in years, obviously, and really don't know what to say. I think I sponsored over 100 guys, and I'm sure about 10 of them are sober, maybe. And I used to sponsor like 12 guys at a time, and that does not work. So now when I get a chance, I have just a few, and they told me I had to work the steps, and I had to, the 5 rules I remember now, and this is a long time ago, but before I worked the steps, they told me to clean up, show up, trust God, and don't drink even if your ass falls off. And I said, well, what if my ass falls off? And they said, well, just pick it up, take it to the meeting, put it in the chair, sit on it, and we'll reconnect it. So I was sweating the shirt out walking down the street in Scottsdale the first year, and I just was sweated the first year a lot. Sweated all the time. Just coming off the alcohol. And I swear my ass fell off once, and I took it to a meeting and sat on it, and they reconnected it. And they told me no one would ever lie to me here, and of course I doubted that, and everybody else. Where I got sober, they had a great big plaque in the back, and it said, we care. And I thought, yeah, screw you. Because I didn't think anybody cared. I didn't care. And years later, it's still down there at the Valley Alamo Club on Thomas there in Scottsdale. We care. And later I learned that we do care. We care about you just because you're an alcoholic or a drug addict. We just care about you because you're like us, And it doesn't matter if you're short or tall or young or old. We're all the same inside. I didn't believe that at first, but having been to thousands and thousands of meetings, I know that it's true. We're all exactly the same on the inside. Even though we all thought we were different than everybody around us, we're all the same. That's 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And I love you all very much, and there's nothing you can do about it, okay?